I was laughing because I was telling Jason, I said, I leave me alone. I have to listen to this book. I want to get it finished before I interview Wendy. So don't talk to me. So he'd come in and he was hearing about the tires that she was running. He goes, she's running car tires, and I was like, yes. And I hit pause because I'm like, okay, cool. He's interested, and he was like, yeah, they don't like to turn. They're kind of square. They don't like to turn. They just like long distance. And he goes, why is she running? I'm like, read the book.
I see the choices laid out for me. They're not easy and they're never free. I pay with my blood and I pay with my soul. Each time I fly, I'm paying the toll. Gritting cars, gritting gas, you can't tell me I can't. Gritting gas, take your advice and kiss my...
Hey, so I'm welcoming Wendy Crockett to the podcast. And just for everybody who's noticing if there's any weird awkwardness, this is literally my first recording. So welcome, Wendy. And also, full disclosure, we know each other outside of this world. So I figure I might as well ease into this with a friend versus someone I don't know, so that Wendy can say, don't do that in future episodes if I'm being weird and awkward and creepy. So there's that. Hi, Wendy.
I am honored to be your first.
Yay! As Wendy says in her book, Pushing Miles, there's cussing when it's involved of working. And if you don't have the book, the audio version, I highly suggest going and getting it, because there's a part in the beginning, right after the forward, where Wendy talks about how she curses, and I might have to make that my ringtone.
Yeah, the swear disclaimer is a very popular part of the book.
So we're talking about Pushing Miles. So I'm going to let you talk about what Pushing Miles is. To be honest, even though obviously I know, and last year, and Wendy was also in Australia last year recording the audio.
Yeah, so Pushing Miles, a chronicle of motorcycles, mayhem, and metal, is the true story of
Wendy was also
a Guinness World Record ride I did
recording
with a friend
the
of
audio
mine.
version
His
of
name
her
is
book,
Ian McPhee.
Pushing Miles. That's the order of those words
I
was
am
trying to say.
a long distance riding competitor.
So it was kind of interesting to listen
well over 1 million miles.
to the thing she was doing a year ago, that I was
365,000 miles in long distance competitions. And
she didn't let me come in
after
and do the
I
thing
won,
that I
I
wanted
was
to do. I
the first woman to win the Iron Bat Rally in 2019.
Whisper
and one of my
something which we'll touch on
competitors
later. I wanted to come in
called
and
me
be
up
like,
after, and he's like, "Hey,
somewhere
I
in the
have
book
this
that she wouldn't
idea.
let me do it. So maybe
I want to
people don't get me.
ride 49
Next
states."
time.
And I'm like, "Well, that is
or in the
boring.
movie or
Everybody
something.
does
You know,
that."
whatever. Just
And he
have
said, "No, I
random
want to ride
woman
it
just walk
in
across the screen
alphabetical
and just
order,
say the word,
and I
keep
want to
walking,
visit the
and don't
capitals
give
of
any
each of
reason
the
why.
states." And I
So
said, "Absolutely.
sounds
I want
ridiculous, and
Pushing
I'm totally
Miles to
in.
be a
Let's do
movie.
it.
You have my personal guarantee there will be a rat chicken in it if we
started
can make
planning
this
in late
happen." 2019. So obviously then the pandemic hits. He is Australian. He was locked down in Australia. I had been traveling and I ended up locked down in Mexico. So we had several years to plan this out. And the base ride, alphabetical states ride, is about 66,000 miles. So as we're putting the polish on that, we realize that it's not actually that far from the Guinness World Record for longest continuous journey in a single country. So we added a little more onto the plan, and we came up with a ride plan that was 83,000 miles in 80 days. And we figured, we're professionals. Both of us have so much time in the saddle. Both of us are professional mechanics. I am a motorcycle power sports mechanic. He is a diesel mechanic. So we can handle our business, no problem. This ride is going to go flawlessly. We will have nothing to talk about. So our concept was to have like a coffee table book, right? So each day we would have our two opposing pages, and one page would have his favorite little story or picture from the day, and one page would be mine. So as this ride went to shit in spectacular fashion, we kind of kept that concept of keeping his point of view and my point of view in each day as we're cataloging the myriad catastrophes.
I'm laughing because I'm at a point I'm at a point where they're having to, and I'm not gonna mess up the story. I don't want it to give anything away. Something funny happens with a Bogan Way sign. It's a sign in Australia. This happens early in the book. Um, and he's stuck in mud, and I'm like, take a picture. And she's like, so I get out my camera, and I'm like, yes, you know. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good. It just ended up being we were a couple of weeks in before we were like, the chaos is not slowing down. Like, we need to start keeping better notes of all of this stuff. Like you said, like all of these little things that are just, they're funny, they're left field, they're, potentially show stopping a lot of the time. What's interesting is I've been going through some of our videos and putting together some promo stuff, and I had asked Ian, my teammate, what his favorite videos were, and I knew what his first choice was. His second choice favorite video was actually the situation that you were talking about, when we had decided we couldn't go on at that pace and we needed to reroute. And I'm like, how wild! I wouldn't have guessed it was such a low point in the ride that it's really interesting to me. And I think, the way he explains it, it's you still, as we are discussing, like, this is a choice we're making for safety. And sometimes when you're in endurance riding, you need to make those choices for safety. It's not all about making that, that mileage and the time. We reassessed and we couldn't be safe, but you could still see our humor in
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
You could still see we weren't giving up. We were just shifting focus.
yeah,
So very
yeah.
interesting.
It was, that's so far, that's been the one thing that I think in the book. And, I know you guys, and I met Ian when I was in Australia. And side note, and there's going to be a lot of that, guys, because I'm extremely ADHD, unmedicated at that. Um, I have a Australian friend too, and it was funny because we rocked up to Ian's house, and there's these two big Aussies, and like my friend is 6'6", and Ian's like 6'4" or something like that. I don't know. I'm 5'3", so everybody's gigantic in this house except for me. I think his wife Colleen, she's taller than me as well, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so like everybody there, and not, Aussies are just built big. I have yet to meet a tiny petite, and I'm sure they're there. I just haven't met them yet. Like tiny little Australian, unless they're Asian descent, moved to Australia. But like native Australian people, you're like I look up all their noses. It's crazy. I'm armpit level, and I look up their noses. So we get there, and then immediately they're talking about Holdens. But one of the cool things that I really liked about this was when I talk to you guys, or I'm listening to you guys talk to each other, I can hear even in like, except for one part, which is early on where there was a bit of a separation from Australia to the US. There was this sort of connection that you guys have. And I'm wondering and I started thinking, I wonder if that's just the Aussie way to be like, nah, she'll be right, mate. Like
She'll be right, mate.
this sort of, don't get stressed about it. We'll figure it out. We'll keep it moving. And it's for me because like, I wear my anxiety. Like, it just exists with me in a way that I can never get rid of. And Woody is my friend in Australia. He's very like, calm down. We'll figure it out. And I feel like Ian's that way, and it kind of helps with you sometimes because you're the
I think he
planner.
really is. And something to mention is he and I had never ridden together, as a team on purpose before this ride. So the whole idea behind the Australia ride was like a shakedown to see if we actually could be a good team together. But yeah, I hear a lot like this stereotype that Australians are kind of exclusionary. There's this surface level friendship and it's hard to break in. But yeah, I mean, like my experience has been the same as yours. Like it was like, we just clicked and super welcoming. Everybody was super welcoming, in our travels around
Mm-hmm.
Australia and helping us solve problems. And yeah, you're definitely right. I think Ian and I both have a balance.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us, have a pretty long fuse But every once in a while, he'd be like, I would find the end of it. But he would too. But very rarely were we both down or angry or whatever on this at the same time.
Yeah.
So, the one that was having a bad day, the opposite one would just take a step in and, you know,
Carry
make
that
some
load, that mental
make some
load.
jokes, carry the load. Sometimes it was just knowing when to shut up and give some space. But there is huge, benefit to knowing when you're best served by just letting
Oh
him
yeah.
simmer or him letting me simmer and trying to get out of your own head.
I think it's really cool to see how you guys just it's like they read each other's sort of, they kind of, if one goes left, the other one was already taking a step left. If one is going to say something, the other one was already going to say something. And it's this kind of interesting sort of uh symbiotic sort of friendship, if that's the right word, you guys have, that I thought was really, really neat. And I picked up on that, even when we were just sitting across the table having the amazing food that is in Australia. The meat over there is chef's
Yeah.
kiss better than here. I've never found any to be good. So that's good.
I cannot say it enough how good the meat is there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of the things that we had difficulty with when we were writing the book is it was super, super important for us to maintain each of our individual voices. And
Mhm.
it was, every time we'd talk to editors that, we'd explain we are going to maintain our separate voices. It is an important part of the story. Yeah, sure, we'll do that. And then as soon as they do a read through, they'd have to decide, they'd come back and say, you need to decide if it's tire with an I or tire with a Y. You need to decide if it's a gas station or a servo, this list of things. And we're like, no, we don't. Our readers are smarter than that. But
Right.
two, over the course of our 6 months together, I start taking on some of his, manners of speaking, and he takes on some of my manners of speaking. That is an important part of the story, is you're following that, virtual strangers that come together and are just like, yeah, we long lost Siamese twins from different mothers is what he called us. We just clicked, and the way that our very separate backgrounds kind of become intertwined is an important part of the story.
I think that is the story, though. I mean, yeah, you're out there trying to get the world record, and yeah, you're trying to drive through bushes to get pictures of steam trains, and sleeping rough, as you call it, which I am totally buying a bike cover for future rides. There's we'll get to that again in a bit, but I mean, I think that is overall the story. But I've found the Australian people to be very opening, very lovely, very friendly. Pretty much what you see is what you get across the board.
Hmm.
That's just how they are. But and for me personally, so that's what I enjoyed that part, and I really liked hearing you try to say some of the words. Like there's one town in the book that he mentions specifically that you couldn't say, and that he, and I have a couple of them too, that people that Woody laughs at. What's the town? And I hear you say it, and I hear you have to think about it, feel it in your mouth, and then spit it out. Starts with a B, I believe.
Well, there's that one that we joke about, and
Yep.
that it's Bourke, and I call it boor, like from The Simpsons, when Mr. Smithers is like, no, they're not booing you, they're saying boorns. So
Yeah.
that's where that came from. So that became our running joke.
Oh,
But
okay.
there's a town outside of Brisbane, and it is spelled
And yes, Indooroopilly. That's the
Indooropi.
same one he gets me on. Do they say
It's spelled
Indooroopilly?
Indooropoli.
Yes.
And I thought Ian was going to have an aneurysm laughing at me.
That's the
Like,
same one Woody laughs at me on too, because he lived outside of Indooroopilly or
in
Indooropoly or however you want to say it.
Indooroopilly. Yeah.
Indooroopilly. Yeah, and I'm like,
Like,
but then they came here and I live in Maryland, and Maryland has some as well. So we have a town
yeah.
here called it's spelled Taneyton.
Okay.
How would you say that? Taney town.
Tannytown.
It's Tawny Town.
Well, the capital of South Dakota, Pierre. It is a proper name.
Pierre.
Pierre is
Oh,
how it's.
okay. So we have it too.
Everybody just gets together and agrees to mispronounce something. And then in the case of Indrapilli, we've all just agreed to ignore half of the letters in the place name.
Yeah, yeah. It should be like Indro-Pilly. That's what
Yeah.
yeah, Indro-Pilly. So I think you guys were over there when it was all the flooding was
Mhm.
happening. You talk about a lot of rain over there, and then it rained here. So it was just a really rainy year. Um,
It was record setting in a lot of places where we were.
yeah,
Like, we were going across Queensland, and it was the worst flooding they'd had in like 85 years, and it was
hmm
washing out roads,
yep.
and that was craziness. And we had record setting rain all over the place in the US. Like, when we were in towns, it was interesting when we applied for our Iron Butt certificate after this ride. And it was such a mess, this the certificate submission, because nothing went smoothly.
Oh
And
wow.
one of the things I said is we had record-breaking weather events, and the Iron Butt Association guys got back to me and said, we can't put that on a certificate because you can't prove it. And so I got back with like 8 different things where, like, here's a news story that is like, this day is the most rain that there has ever been recorded in the history of weather recording in St. Louis. And then here's a picture of our track that showed us in the middle of
Right through
this
the middle of it.
storm.
Yeah.
Record-breaking heat, record-breaking lightning strikes, like all of this stuff. And they got back to me and said, okay, point has been made.
Yeah. That's that because I was thinking back. I was like, wait, they were in Australia because I went 2019 and I went last year.
Mhm.
Obviously I saw you there last year. And I remember in 2019 I had planned on coming back in 21 or 22, but everything got pushed back because COVID, right?
Mm.
And you guys did this ride in Australia right after COVID, right? It was right after.
It When I bought the ticket, Australia hadn't even opened yet. But
Oh,
we were feeling highly optimistic, and we were tired of waiting, so we just kind of, threw a dart at the calendar, and we said, well, April Fool's Day, that suits us.
that
And
seems perfect.
I bought a ticket, and the world was not open yet, and it
Mm.
had just the borders had opened like less than a week before. It was just a handful of days before April 1st. And so on this whole giant airplane, there was like 14 people total on this whole airplane flying from Los Angeles to.
I'm so jealous. I
Yeah,
sat
we
next to a pissy 4-year-old the whole way over.
we got each of us had our entire own rows from wall to wall, and then the row in front of us and the row behind us was empty. So you could stretch out and relax, and that'll never happen again,
No,
hopefully.
not until one of us become independently wealthy and can buy each other a Learjet. So, or some other
Yes.
whatever plane is the right plane to go across the ocean into the other hemisphere. So, we've talked about for those of who aren't motorcycle riders, we'll just do a little bit of backstory about what an iron butt is, distance miles. I mean, the thing that I really like about long distance riding is I think what's going to drive me to get my next bike, which everybody is either 100% for or 100% hate. I'm not going to get Ian's opinion on it because he's probably going to be like, stay the hell away from that BMW. Um, but I like distance riding because I go out and I sometimes turn off my music or anything, and I just like to talk to myself in my head, to be part of the myriad of things that's going on in an ADHD brain. And I find that distance and that riding quiets my brain, and I like
Hmm.
it. But for anybody out there, I'm going to let you describe what the IBA is, what the Iron Butt is, and how you got what for you makes it something that's you like to do and has become your professional sport, so to speak.
So the Iron Butt Association oversees and certifies the sport of safe long distance riding. And the minimum ride in order to gain membership into the Iron Butt Association is riding 1,000 miles or 1,610 kilometers in under 24 hours. And they have very stringent documentation requirements in order to prove that you have done that. And the vast majority, I can't give you a solid number, but the overwhelming majority of people that are a member of the Iron Butt Association do one ride. It is something that they build up to, they plan very carefully, they execute once, and they never do another. It's kind of ticking it off of the bucket list. And then there's people like me
The rest of you
that,
crazy ass people.
yeah, that this is just the way I travel. And this has just been the way I travel since long before I knew the Iron Butt Association existed. For the same reason, I have a very, very busy brain that doesn't shut up. And when I got on the bike, it was like Ritalin, like the whole world just becomes
Yes.
this one moment of focus.
Yes.
And everything, I talk to myself and I, do silly stuff, but really most of the junk in life just kind of fades away after enough miles.
Mm-hmm.
And it became I just don't have an off switch.
Yeah.
So, like when you have a small dog and you hold it over water, like that's me with a motorcycle. I'm just like ready to go. You plop me on and I just don't stop when I'm by myself if I'm not given a reason to. So that was, as I started building up my confidence as a rider, when I didn't grow up in a riding family. So I just kind of, my riding group initially was just who happened to be nearby with a motorcycle. And then I found myself going, come on, guys, we said kickstands up at 8 o'clock and it's
Ah,
noon.
yes.
And as I gained confidence, I was like, I'm leaving at 8. And if you want to come with me, you will be here ready to ride at 8. And a lot of times I ended up riding by myself. And I was like, I'm going to see how many states I can hit before I got to be back to school Monday morning. And so that was just the genesis of my long distance career. And after I'd been doing that for many years, I stumbled upon the Iron Butt Association in 2003, and I was like, oh my God, there are others. So I
Yeah. My God.
yeah, very quickly started doing certified rides. My very first certified Iron Butt ride, I did coast to coast from where I lived in Pismo Beach to where I had just moved from in Georgia. I rode to Savannah, Georgia. And I did you have to certify a shorter ride first. So I certified my uh, bun burner or saddle sore, whatever I
Saddle
did
sore. Yeah. Saddle sore.
inside. Yeah, the bun burner is 1,500 miles in 24 hours. And I can't remember which one I did. And then continued on to get my coast to coast. And then I did from Canada down to Mexico to get my 3 flags, and, really quickly ramped up and started gobbling up all these certificates because I'm like, I can already do all of this.
Yeah. That's the thing I think I really like about this group of people that I've met. And I know a lot of you guys. I went to the Iron Butt Rally, which we'll talk about after at a minute, to watch some of my friends. Wendy was one of them, cross the finish line. And then one of our other friends who was doing it for the first time crossed the finish line. And just celebrate some other people that I knew there doing it. But, outside of this very small world of people, and it is kind of it is a very close world. Like got there, I think I knew about 2 dozen people there, and
Mm.
I was like, hi, but I only knew them because of where I used to work. And they helped me out. My bike was doing something funky, and I took 2 days to get there. Like I could have done it in one run, which I had, but there was a storm, and I don't have the balls that Wendy and Ian have, so I went in 2 days. But my bike was messed up, and another person who I'd only met literally for 15 minutes at my old job handed me his bike and said, bring it home to Maryland. And he put my bike on the trailer and they took off for Virginia, actually. It's an interesting and really welcoming community. It really is not it's not exclusive like you find in other sort of extreme sports groups.
And I think that is a big part. We were on motorcycles, and certainly it was, kind of the impetus for this story, but it's not what the story is
Yeah.
about. And it really is that spirit of welcoming,
Mhm.
inside like the Iron Butt community, we had intended to do this ride completely under the radar. Like, in this social media world, of course, hindsight being 2020, had we known, I mean, this was just chaos designed for social media. But, the idea was we're doing 83,000 miles in 80 days, and we had to do it in under 90 days because of Ian's tourist visa. It was a 90-day visa. And, so we didn't want the interruptions. That is a lot of miles, and we were servicing our bikes ourselves. So there's going to be downtime in there for service that was scheduled in as well. So we just didn't have the time to entertain distractions.
Right.
But what we very quickly found is, like, as soon as we were having issues and we put that out there, this community was falling all over themselves to help us out. And not just people in the community. We had a friend from inside the community. We needed a part. We couldn't find it anywhere close to where we were. We were, running out of time. We were headquartered in Illinois. He lives in Pennsylvania. He found a part in Virginia, and he left home from Pennsylvania immediately so he could get to that shop in Virginia before the shop closed. The shop didn't stay open until he got there, but they put all the parts and everything outside for him to pick up so he could drive the parts out to Illinois for us. Yeah. And I'm not sure if you've gotten to that point in the book yet. I won't spoil that, but just the willingness to drop everything and do that. And then there's people outside the community that, there's something incredibly humbling about just putting it out there to the universe, not just the community, of long distance riders, not just motorcyclists, but you just kind of release this, I have a problem that I cannot handle, and you say yes. And the number of people that are willing to come in and play a little tiny part in your great big adventure is just amazing. I mean, it really is.
I think it restores your faith in sort of humanity in these days a little bit. I know it made me kind of grin and smile to be like, that's really cool, is that people stepped up and the community coming together. So, we can't talk about you and pushing miles and what got you here without talking about the thing that we talk about here on this, is that, women in motorsports, and you have not only a Guinness World Record, but you have a first for the Iron Butt Rally, which I interrupted her so she didn't get a chance to finish talking about what the Iron Butt Rally is. But what is the Iron Butt Rally, and what did you do?
So the Iron Butt Rally is a competition. The rest of the Iron Butt rides I've described are all something that you plan for yourself, you do on your own timeline, by yourself or whoever you want to do it with. Then there are head-to-head competitions, and rallies can be as short as like 8 hours, all the way up to the biggest is the Iron Butt Rally, which is, the tagline is 11 days, 11,000 miles. But it's basically a scavenger hunt on 2 wheels across all of North America. And I do mean all. I mean all the way out to Newfoundland or Dead Horse, Alaska, or Key West, or, everywhere in between. And every rider plans their own ride. So while 11 days, 11,000 miles is the tagline, the winners often do significantly more miles. So we all start at the same place. We all have fixed checkpoints, and we all, end at the same place. And we have time windows for each of those checkpoints. Outside of that, we're given a whole list of locations with points attached. And you might need to go to that location and take a picture of your motorcycle in front of it. You may need to take a tour of a museum and take a picture of a particular exhibit inside the museum. You might need to take a picture of yourself sitting in a hot tub in a nudist colony. You might need to do a hot lap on a racing lawnmower. Like, all of these things have actually been done on rallies. Each one of them has a point value. So you are a lot of people ride rallies just to finish and have a good time and see really cool, unique things. So they will plan their rally to get enough points to be a finisher, but also see the cool things that really look compelling to them. If you are looking to finish well, you are just looking at those point values and seeing how you can get as many points as possible without missing that time window for your next checkpoint. So it's not a race. It's not about who arrives first. Usually whoever wins is coming skidding in at the last second, sometimes well into penalty points. Sometimes the trade-off for the points you were going after is worth the penalty points that you're getting by showing up in the penalty window. But it is definitely a strategy game, a game of fatigue management and
Planning.
planning,
Planning.
bonus management. That's really a strategic pursuit, and that's what makes it a lot of fun for a lot of people. My husband is not a long distance guy, on his own. He used to say he could do 1,000 miles in a day, but he'd only do it because he was following me and he'd be pissed off about it. But he has done a couple of really awesome Iron Butt certificate rides all on his own without me pushing him. But I got him onto a rally one time, and it was like a 36-hour rally, 32-hour rally, something like that. And when he started, it was our first handful of bonuses overlapped. And we pull up and he's very methodically, slowly pulling his gloves off. And I'm like, let's go. Why? You don't do this. So we parted ways when our routes, just parted. And then our routes kind of reconverged near the end. And in the course of that 30 hours that we were apart, he's like, okay, if I drop this bonus location, I can get 2 more bonuses down here and I can get a few more points. And like that whole thrill, like really set in for him in just that short window. It's a lot different than just doing the miles.
Yeah.
When you really start getting into that puzzle. So it was really fun to see that transformation in him, where he's
That's
like,
a goal for me. I want to do it. The one that I wanted to do this year was not, or the next one, I think the Valkyrie ride. That one's
Yeah.
not. So everybody keeps telling me that's a good one to sort of lean into. But so how many have you done total? Do you know off the top of your head?
I have total rallies or Iron Butt rallies?
No, Iron Butt rallies. Yeah.
I've ridden
Or
in
both,
7.
even. 7.
Yep. I have finished 6, which is more than any other woman. I did all 6 of those on the same bike, which is more than any other bike. And the bike that I had done all those rallies on is now in the AMA Hall of Fame in Pickerington, Ohio. So I thought this year I wanted to do something different. I was running through a variety of options, and what ended up coming good for me was to ride a Chinese bike. Nobody had ever ridden a Chinese bike in the Iron Butt Rally before. And I loved that bike right up until it blew up on day 7.
So I got there a couple of days after you. No, I got there at the 11th day. So I got there the day before or the day of the last one. I can't remember now. So yeah, actually Wendy's the one that came and said, yeah, there's something wrong with your bike. And I was like, cool. Awesome. I'm in Iowa and I don't know how to work on my bike. I think I've done exactly 2 things to my bike ever. I've changed the oil, put oil in. I consider that one thing. And I changed a light bulb 3 days before and danced around like Rocky at the top of the stairs because I just did something to my bike. I don't work on my bike. I don't know
That's
anything about
awesome,
it.
though.
And BMWs are not the bike to start on.
They're not. But I mean, everything that you just say yes, figure it out, and you did awesome, and that's amazing.
So your first big win, not big win, your first, so you were, I'm going to try that again. So you were the first woman to ever win Iron Butt here in North America.
Correct.
Yeah. What year was that? And I mean, at the time, how many women were competing? And I saw the lineup now, and it's still heavily male.
Right.
But what was it like back then? And
so it would vary pretty significantly by years. It is a lottery system to get in, and there's different ways that it's weighted. So vets have a extra chance to get drawn. but depending on how the lottery works, it's somewhere between 5 and 10% was about average for women. And it very much was a, old white dude sport. It really was. And so it's really cool to start seeing a lot more diversity these last couple of rallies. It's amazing to see, because we don't want to see this sport die.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure people know that this is welcoming. It is for everybody. And that's a big part of what the Valkyrie Rally was for. And hopefully they'll be coming back, because it's such a cool event. But it is a women's only rally, and they're fairly short. They're, again, like 32, 36 hours. And it doesn't start at the starting line. It starts with a community that's there to support you all the way up to the starting line. So, you sign up for this event, and you immediately have access to this, really diverse group of women that can tell you what to do when you get your bonus pack. They can walk you through the steps of how to get that into your GPS, mapping program, how to get that back out to your devices, how to make changes on the fly. Considerations, playing with numbers, playing with some of the newer riders. They're like, okay, I think I've got the winning route. Okay, have you taken into consideration what your moving mile per hour has to be, and what your overall mile an hour has to be in order to make that happen? Like, have you taken into consideration how long you're stopped at each stop? How long are you going to be stopped to get this meal bonus? Oh no, I didn't think of that. All of those little hard-won lessons that the experienced rally riders have picked up over the years, that, like, I had to learn those things the hard way. It was a bit more of an exclusive community when I started. And so a lot of this stuff was like trial and error. And so now we're here sharing that with the next generation of women rally riders.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of neat. And this past IBR was another woman won, Nicole Muse. I think I say her name
Yep.
correctly, or Nikki. I met her. So yeah, so there's been two. So you're a very exclusive club. Um, so just and to go back into that sort of distance riding mentality, like what, and I know it's a professional thing. You gotta kind of know. I think that's what breaks it between the people who are just out there riding and the people who are doing this like professionally. So there's this knowing yourself and the mentality. Like what's your toughest hour mentally? Like what's the hardest time for you? When do you make that decision of like I gotta call it or keep going?
So this is one of those things that took a lot of years of trial and error as well. And this is something that's going to differ for everybody,
Mm.
because everybody's body is different. But when I first started rallying, I would it was like a free for all. I'd go, McDonald's drive through, or pick up a hot dog off the rollers at the gas station, whatever was quick. And drinking a lot of sugary caffeinated drinks and coffee and stuff like that. And what I found out over my first couple of rallies is that really messes with your ability to identify fatigue, because
Mm-hmm.
you end up you feel weighted down from eating greasy, gross, fatty food. You are chasing sugar crashes. You are chasing caffeine crashes. And all of that stuff really masks what is truly happening with your body. So after the first few rallies I did, I really started zeroing in on a diet that worked. Like, I only drink water. I will drink like a sport tea, is an herbal electrolyte replacement tea. It's unsweetened. And I can just cold brew that in my hydration jugs on my bike. I stick to apples are tank bag friendly, carrot sticks, unsalted nuts, unsweetened dried fruits, things like that, that I can have, nice little, uh, really a healthy variety of things,
Mm-hmm.
that everything lives in my tank bag. I'm very, very rarely eating something that is not coming out of my tank bag that I've selected. Now, of course, you've got a lot of like truck stops and things like that where you can buy fresh fruit, you can buy hard-boiled eggs, and you've got a little bit more of a healthy selection to choose from, which is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, by making those changes, now I am able to assess my actual fatigue level. One of the first symptoms of fatigue, any sort of impairment, really, whether you're fatigued, whether you're dehydrated, one of the first things that happens is it impairs your ability to recognize that impairment in yourself. So I got to stay hydrated. I got to eat good food. I know that when the sun goes down, my brain just kind of goes beep, but I'm not tired. It's like my brain watches the sun go down and it's like a road weariness. So
Mm.
at that point, I will allow myself to have like 1 5-hour energy a day. I will get off the bike. I'll walk around for a little bit. I'll go have a chat with somebody in a gas station, whatever I spend 10 minutes doing just to kind of shake off those cobwebs. And then the very next time I am feeling tired, I stop for sleep.
Okay.
Road weariness is more like boredom. It's my eyeballs have seen the curtains go down on the day and it's like bedtime now, but I'm not. If I stopped to lay down, I wouldn't be sleepy.
Yeah.
After that, that 1 5-hour energy, if it's an hour later, if it's 6 hours later, I stop and get some sleep, because ultimately when you are fatigued, the only thing that helps is sleep. So if you have a long distance, a long-term game plan that includes not getting any sleep, it is not going to serve you well. And then ideally, like in my ideal cycle, if I can go to bed at 2 in the morning or so and wake up so I'm moving to watch the sunrise, then I'm reset, I'm good all day. So I get, 2
Yeah,
to
I
4
saw that.
hours of
I
sleep.
heard that in the book. You guys would like nap for 45 minutes, and I don't know if that's something that you do on all of your long distance rides, or if it was just for this one because you were meeting an impossible timeline with all of the speed bumps you guys kept hitting. And in the book, you talk about using a bike cover as a great way to sort of shield yourself. I am a bug magnet and a rain magnet. I will be under a tree. It will have rained hours ago, and I'll pull off somewhere and the wind will blow. I mean, I won't be under the tree and the wind will blow just perfect to rain on me. Like there will be nobody else wet in the whole parking lot. And all the water from that tree will just fall on my head. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So, I'm stealing that idea of the bike cover. But the thing that I think I really I liked was the way that you guys sort of you got just enough sleep to be refreshed. And then when you needed to, you guys just went into a hotel room and just unplugged and turned off and shut down and just completely rebooted. And I think that's what kind of makes it different for you guys, because you guys are like I said, the professional versus, just the hobbyist. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe that's the way you say it. But yeah,
Mm.
that was interesting to listen to in the book and take cues from. I don't think I'll ever be able to do that kind of ride. Not that I would ever attempt it. I definitely would not. Even
Well,
even a portion of it, the craziness that you guys had. Did you keep a running tally in the book of how many times when you were in Australia your bike broke, and how many times when you guys were here in the US Ian's bike like broke? Even things like the GPS getting melted behind the you guys have to you really need to go read this book. The amount of are you fucking shitting me's that I did listening to this story was insane.
it's I don't think we have sat and actually tabulated
Should.
like total. I know we should. We total failures, across the board. But it really is. It, the ride, like when we put all of this down on paper, like as we're living this is just, I call it like stumble recovery credits. Like, how you're walking down the sidewalk striding purposefully and your toe catches a rift in the sidewalk and you're doing the arm flaps to try to keep from falling over. That is your stumble recovery. And we're using up these stumble recovery credits at an alarming rate. So like we immediately lose. There's so much stuff that went wrong that is not in the book because we couldn't remember when and where it happened. And it was like show-stopping near-death experiences. Anybody else, it would have been like a top 5 thing in their writing career. And we're like, I don't even remember where that happened. And so a lot of this
Like
stuff
cinder
just got
blocks in the road.
exactly. And so this got sloughed off. And then once we put it all together in the, book, minus the ones we couldn't remember where it happened, we're like, people are going to think this is bullshit. They're going to think this is all made up. It is such a ridiculous amount of stuff that had gone wrong. Like it just seems unbelievable. So that's why we put the website together that's got all of the pictures
Yeah.
and videos and everything that correlates. So we're like,
Yeah, and actually I have it up on my other screen here. Let me pull it up. It's pushingmiles.com. On there. It says it's a picture of you on the FJR on the blue one. I guess are they both blue in Australia and here?
I have 8 FJRs and they're all
Well,
blue.
oh, they're all blue. It says your name, and then it has AKA and a moniker.
Yes.
Bionic pelvis. I'm assuming that didn't come from an adult themed naming. So I'm gonna let you explain why your pelvis is bionic.
That is not how I funded my travels. No. So I had a very serious motorcycle accident in '99 where somebody ran a stop sign and I T-boned him, and I had my pelvis repaired. Oh, that's gonna.
We'll include it. I'll drop it in. It's probably not gonna. I'm trying to
s-
shield the camera.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
I had metal plates put into my pelvis, plates and pins, and at the time I was working in the medical field in the hospital that they brought me to after my accident. And, this is coworkers that are telling me, oh, obviously you're not going to ride again. It would be stupid for you to ride again. And so when the doctor said, don't ride again, I assumed it was just out of an overabundance of protectiveness. And what it actually was is as soon as I got out of the wheelchair, I tried to sit on the bike. I wasn't even technically trying to ride the bike. And I snapped the metal plate in my pelvis. And so they won't fix it now because it is a very dangerous surgery. And so they're like, well, sucks to be you. So I have a very wonky walk now permanently because of my jacked up pelvis. So
that's the bionic pelvis aspect of it.
Thus my bionic pelvis.
So what is like other than, I know we've mentioned this would be a great movie, and I agree. We met at my job. I used to work for a BMW dealership here in Maryland, and we met there. But then we kind of parted ways. You did all of your stuff, and then we sort of reconnected at the Athena ride in Athens, Ohio, through our friend Anastasia, a fellow rat chicken. And we created the rat chickens, I think, that weekend.
Yep.
So, and I guess I should explain what this is. So we were all out doing the thing that we all do, which is hanging out, talking shit and drinking, doing the Athena ride, which is a wonderful, little small, at this point, still small. I think it's 4th year coming up or 5th year coming up. Uh, Little gathering, for women, in Athens, Ohio, and it kind of talks about it's because of the Ohio's Windy Nine, and it also raises money for my sister's place, which is a place for people to go who are victims of domestic violence, a shelter. It's just a really great organization, and Athens hosts the Athena Ride, and that raises money for that. In addition, we all go out and ride Ohio's Windy Nine, which is over 1,000 miles of rides around in and around the Athens area. So anyway, Wendy, Anastasia, Kelly, and I think it's Kelly. Kelly rode from California to get there, correct? Yeah.
She did.
Yeah, she was amazing. So we're all sitting at a bar. You know, it's great hearing when you're in a bar that's loud and you've had a few drinks and you're sitting in a row and you're all trying to talk to each other. And our friend Anastasia like has this saying that's just hood rat chicks doing hood rat shit on bikes. And Kelly, who was sitting to my right, so it was Kelly, myself, Wendy, Anastasia. Anastasia's from New Jersey, so well, she was yeah, I think she's from New Jersey, isn't she? She like have to check on
Hmm.
that. She's just
Yeah.
loud. I love her, but she's loud. So we could hear her, but we couldn't hear what she was saying. And Kelly said something about what did she say? Something about rat chickens. I don't really know how the actual flow of this went, but somehow maybe you remember better. But I know we had just done a shot or two, so I don't remember. I don't drink that much, so the few times I do drink, it's like I don't really remember how this happened. At some point, somebody, I think you, had come up with a picture of a chicken in a bomber jacket with sunglasses and a physical rat tail, not a rat tail. Do you
Yeah.
remember how we got from hood rat chicks to rat chickens? I don't.
I have no direct recollection other than it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, so we've just started. We got stickers made, and now whenever we go somewhere far away, we put a rat chicken sticker up somewhere. There's nothing to it. We just kind of make a little joke about it. But basically, it's this little group that we sort of put together that's not even really a group. It's just us being silly. Women who ride. And I think I ride the least of everybody that's out of this little group that Anastasia has included. We have a little Facebook chat group. But that's the kind of thing that I think I've really sort of found in motorcycling specifically. You know, I've been part of the motorsports community for a long time, which is really what this is going to feature, but I in more of a supportive role. So, you know, as you know, my husband, he's raced and drag racing for years. So I've been part of it. But when I found my people, so to speak, in the motorcycling world, almost all of the women that I have the most in common with are distance riders. And I think it's partially because of what we said before, which is that, you know, it's a place where I can sort of just turn off and ride.
Hmm.
But what I have found is that it's incredibly diverse in the kind of people that it is. So we're not all like exactly the same. And I know you mentioned once before when you were talking about somebody else, you were like, you know, I just did something that men have always done, being the first woman to win the Iron Bat Rally here in North America. But it is a it may not sometimes to you seem like, you know, this, but for people who are outside of that, who see it, it becomes something that, you know, is achievable and it opens a door that some people didn't even know were there. So for that, I
Mm.
say
I,
thanks.
and I think one of the cool ways that, being a long distance rider impacts my everyday life is because I'm in South Dakota and you guys are on the East Coast, and it is nothing for us to say, let's get together in Ohio this weekend and we make it happen because that's
Yeah.
only a day away from here.
Yeah.
Everything from South Dakota is only a day away or so when you're a long distance rider, which is awesome for, have fostering these friendships with people you just click with. But yeah, it's I forgot where your question
I don't
was.
know. We were just talking. That's the welcome to our lives. We started with rat chickens and we ended up with in Ohio. You know, it's pretty
And
much the
somehow,
nature of our entire friendship so far.
yeah, we were talking about the inspiration is what we were talking
Oh
about.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I do find um a lot of people will hear my story, whether it's about, long distance riding in, competitions or this ill-fated Guinness ride. And very, very few people are like, well, that seems like the right fit for me. But a lot of people are like, I think I can do this thing that is just outside my comfort zone. And
Yeah.
I speak to, riders and non-rider communities alike. So it's not always just something motorcycle related, but it's I really love hearing from people. I keep thinking I was going to take a road trip across the state and I was really nervous to do it by myself. And you know what? I think I'm going to do it. I think I can totally
Yeah.
do that. So, all of those little things, just it's not about getting to my level of crazy. It's just take that little half a step outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
expand your world. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
opening, that's what I was saying. Opening the door, you know, showing us that the door is open and we didn't even necessarily know there was a door there, kind of a thing.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
so and
But
you became an auto mechanic, you said a motorcycle mechanic. And that's something that when you were doing that, when you started with that, that was also not something that was not a lot of women. There's still not a lot of women in it, but there are definitely more now,
Yeah,
thanks to
it
STEM
was.
programs and what.
I went to Motorcycle Mechanics Institute, and there was two other women in the school at that time. One of them was a woman who was retired and was just doing it, for fun post retirement, and then two of us that were actually looking at it as a career. And yeah, it was shocking how many, I mean, there's laws in place that you are not allowed to discriminate on certain factors, and the number of people who felt totally emboldened to be like, I know that we're advertising for an entry level mechanic, but wouldn't you like to be a secretary instead? And I've had shops tell me, we don't want women in the shop screwing up our chi. Like, we like our naked girl calendars and we don't want to have to change for you. And it's like, that's against the law.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for letting me know that you're an asshole before I upend my life and move here for this job that you're going to
Yeah.
have that attitude for. But yeah, it's amazing, what a boys club it can still be, but it is super super cool to see how many women are, coming into the sport, getting into non-traditional, career fields and things like that. So we're really taking over. Women are more than 20% of motorcyclists, but we control something like 65% of motorsports related purchases. So
Mm-hmm.
that's telling us that women that are passengers, women that don't ride, are still controlling those purchases. So it's really cool that we're starting to exercise this power we have in the market and in this sport.
Does your daughter, does she have any interest in going into sort of the same sort of field as you, or is she looking at something kind of, do you see any of that lean in her?
She's uh she
She's grown
is
up on the
leaning towards
bikes.
she's grown up on the bikes. Um she really, really loved that Chinese bike that I had for the Iron Butt rally. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that was the first one. She really liked her sidecar rig. That was her domain. To a certain extent, she does it, to humor us, and because that's the way we travel on motorcycles. I don't know that she will ever, grow up to be a passionate motorcyclist, but my hope is that she grows up to be fearless in whatever she does. And
Yeah.
I do, I've she hears people, tell me, oh, you're a trailblazer, you're such an inspiration. And I tell her, like, the reason I'm doing what I am doing today is because of women like, Bessie Stringfield and the
Yes.
Van Buren sisters, and those women that they risked arrest by riding motorcycles and wearing pants and fighting for our rights to vote and getting us to where we are today. And one of my proudest moments, my motorcycle career has afforded me a lot of opportunities to travel with my daughter. And we the year before last uh traveled in Pakistan, and it was so cool for me to have her talking to these women that are changing their world today.
Yeah.
She talked to the first woman to ride her own motorcycle around Pakistan.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she spoke with, we were at a restaurant, and the lady, it was owned by a woman. And she, sat down with us and we were sharing a meal. And she said, I went outside of my village and got trained as a chef. And I came back and I was the first woman in this entire region to have my own business. And people would spit on me in the street. They set my business on fire more than once. They're graffitiing my business. And I would go home in tears every single day going, why am I subjecting myself to this? And now look, 10 years later, another woman has opened a business in this town. And like, just, it still gives me chills, like
Yeah, that's
beaming with pride that she would not lay down in the face of
mhm.
adversity. And we got to talk to that woman today. That woman is the trailblazer that,
Yeah, yeah,
people are
yeah.
going to be looking back upon. And it's so important not to forget uh, all of the struggle that's gotten us to where we are today, that's, come before us. I have a goofy sport, and I had a little, a little less bad luck than the next guy, but we are standing on the shoulders of some truly incredible women.
We've talked about that. We were talking about that earlier, that one of the ladies that I'm going to be talking to is Linda Butherstone, or Linda Bick, and she's out in Australia, and she's amazing. A lot of the big bikes didn't exist like they do today back then when they were riding, but she tells me stories about her riding in, places in the Middle East where before a lot of the conflict that's happened of the recent era. But riding across, and I think about it now. I mean, like you talk about some of your struggles with Google not getting you to the right place, or your phone and advertising. And then I stop and I think these women were writing with letters that they sent, because there's no internet. They'd pick the phone up and call each other. That was really expensive. So they'd drop a letter in the mail and map information in the mail. And they had a network, the Women's International Motorcycle Association. They would share information about safe places to ride, the way to ride. The things that we're doing right now had to go transatlantic mail carrier crap. And the knowledge that they would get on a 250 or 125 or some little, bike with a toolkit, a backpack, and a map,
Mm-hmm.
and go, here we go, we're gonna go do it. I'm like, how'd you fit those balls on the bike? I don't understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. Like I find a lot of people get mired down in the crap that they are reading online, and it is a double-edged sword, because we do have all this information at our fingertips. You can find out exactly what documents you need to fly to Oman tomorrow and start exploring. But you also have like this weird culture that it's like, oh, you're going with that bike, you're going with that equipment, really? You really think that's the and so everybody starts second guessing themselves, and you are putting off these experiences thinking that you're not doing it right. No, get a little monkey bike, get a 125cc bike. You're still going to be one of the biggest bikes on the road in most of the countries of the world.
Yeah.
My husband and I, for our honeymoon, we were living in California at the time, and we rode up the Dempster Highway up to Inuvik in the Northwest Territories of Canada, well beyond the Arctic Circle. And when we came back, I wrote up a little, overview of our trip and our adventures. And so many people were like, well, that was a stupid choice of bike. I wouldn't have taken an FJR up there. I would have taken KLR, Tiger, insert bike here. That would have been, well, guess what? You're still sitting behind the keyboard, dreaming
Mhm.
about the perfect situation. And now we've been to Inuvik,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So don't
Yeah.
buy into this, that there's only one right way to adventure.
Yeah, no,
You're
I think that it's amazing to listen to how, your stories, and you taking the FJR a little bit off road, the Australian one, the Aussie version of it, um, and listening to Ian just take anything anywhere at any time whenever he wants to. But
yeah.
listening to people do these things, and listening to people getting out there and doing this, it's pretty, like insane to listen to the stories, the old stories, obviously yours too. And I'm not taking anything away from you, but like I said, we had this technology to get us out there, and these things. But for those of us who maybe don't have the knowledge, or the planning that Wendy does in her brain, and the way she's done this sitting next to me. I've talked to her about something, and I just watch the gears go, and then there comes an output. Yeah, remember those old ticket things where you would type stuff in and you hear the computer go, and then it spits out a punch card. Like, I feel like that's kind of how your brain works. Um, for those of us who can't do that, for those of us who don't have it, you work with an organization that does tours. We were talking
Yes.
about that earlier this year, and you also helped talk about a new bike that they use. Is it the same bike that you were? Is it the Himalayan? Do they use all Himalayans, or do they just use any bikes?
So Vintage Rides works exclusively with Royal Enfields. So
Yeah.
depending on what country that you are in, we have 350 bullets, 500 bullets, 411 Himalayans, and 450 Himalayans. And that depends on, certain places like Sri Lanka, there are displacement maximums. Some places we have really, aggressive off-road rides, and so that'll be one of the Himalayas. But, like we were talking about, we have all of these resources at our fingertips. Um, you could just take off. I have friends that rode monkey bikes from North Dakota all the way down to south, and I don't think they quite made it to Ushuaia, but they made it way south in South America on these little bitty monkey bikes. So, you can take off on just about anything. Is going to be a great bike for an adventure almost anywhere in the world. But the nice thing about vintage rides adventures is you just show up, and all of those questions, what documents do I need? Do I need a visa for this country? How long can I stay? Do I need a driving permit? All of these things, all of those questions are answered for you. You show up, you've got a bike, you don't need to worry about where you're going to find gas or where you're going to sleep tonight. You just maximize your vacation and show up and enjoy.
And then you had Nepal and Peru this past year. Was that, those are the only, those, I wanted to go. I just, with my job and everything, I couldn't go. I would definitely want to do one of those next year, hopefully, if I have enough time. But there's so many rides and things that I want to do. Do you have anything coming up that you think is,
right.
I've
always got something in the works.
Well, we'll talk about it though.
I have a couple different big rides that I'm working on that aren't, quite at that point where we're ready to announce it yet. But one of the big things I'm going to be involved with this next year is the Women Riders World Relay.
Oh yeah.
And if you are familiar with them, they in 2019 had a physical baton that started in the UK and passed hands from woman rider to woman rider and circled all the way around the globe and back to the UK. They did 120 plus countries and tens of thousands of women riders. So you would have, not only the lady that was holding the baton sometimes, but also, a big group of women accompanying her. So it was a really incredible experience to join women riders all around the globe. And this year, what they're doing is kind of trying to recapture that. That original ride it really took a lot out of people. They volunteered a year of their life, and there was a ton of strategy involved, and some people wanted to be involved in their countries, but the timing didn't work out. So how they're doing it this year is they are releasing an app. And your app acts as a digital baton. And instead, when you and I meet up and we tap our phones together, I don't lose my baton to you. I'm not relinquishing it to you. You and I now both have a baton. And when we make that connection, it lights up on a map. And the goal is to light up the globe. The goal is in the course of 2026 to touch every woman rider in the world through the Women's Rider World Relay. So there's a lot of really cool, fun things that we're able to do since it is ongoing wherever you are throughout the year. A lot of interesting challenges and opportunities to meet up with people and I don't want to spoil it all for you, but definitely, go check out the womenridersworldrelay.com website.
I want to do it. Anything else? You going anywhere that you can talk about right now, or that you're ready to talk about right now? Anything else that you can think of?
Well, we're planning, each of the countries are kind of planning their own get-togethers and stuff. We are planning something really big for the US, and hopefully we'll be ready to announce it pretty quick here. And it's something that we designed, so maximum number of people hopefully will be able to join us for some portion of this big ride. So that'll be really cool. Definitely keep your eyes out.
If you're going anywhere this year, like where do you want to travel to? Like where is your idea of like the perfect sort of vacation-y time?
Next on my list is Africa. It's Africa and Antarctica are the two places I haven't traveled. And I like underdog countries. I think Pakistan is my favorite place I've ever visited. Um, but I know Morocco and South Africa are really, really popular destinations. But I called a friend of mine the other day and I said, I want to go to Tanzania. I don't know. I got a hair up my butt. I feel like Tanzania is the one. And so, we are talking about how we can make a trip to Tanzania happen. And I kid you not, like 8 hours later, she forwards me this email she got from a listener of her podcast who was like, Hey, I am a new listener. I'm an American expat living in Tanzania. I have a bike rental company. I would love to get you guys over here. I was like, dude, throw it out into the universe. And
Yeah,
here we
right? That's
are.
insane.
Yeah. So I really want to. Ian actually lived in Africa
Africa, yeah.
in Zambia for 7 years, something like that. And he just talks all the time about how much he loved it over there and how beautiful it is. And so that's kind of next up on my wish list
Oh,
is
wow, that's
making that
amazing.
trip to the southern portion of the continent and
Mm.
explore some of those countries you don't hear a whole lot about.
When you were in Australia, where was your favorite place to like ride?
I can't wait to get back to Australia too. There's a lot on the top end that I haven't gotten into enough for my satisfaction. I want to explore more in Western Australia. Like my one of my favorite places I've been, I think, is Jervis Bay, which
Oh,
is, pretty well off the beaten track. But gosh, talk about just a glorious place. I did a bunch of hiking and in a lot of Victoria and that whole region. There's just gorgeous hiking, gorgeous riding,
hmm.
beautiful wildlife. I'm like hiking along and seeing little echidnas and wombats and stuff in my walks, and it's like a fairy tale. It's
I was
amazing.
surprised that there were camels and buffalo there. I don't know
Mm,
why I was surprised about the buffalo. They have lots of ranchers there, but the camels,
yep.
it threw me. I was like,
Yeah,
camels?
that's well, that's you know, colonialism for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. But I remember being very surprised by it. But the cool thing about hiking over there is minus snakes
Mm,
and obviously the dingoes, but minus that, there's not really like you don't have bears, you don't have, mountain lions, you don't have wolves, and you got the dingoes, but not like you think of here where I like for me, I love the idea of moto camping, but I don't love the idea of bears. I love the idea of
yeah.
moto camping. I don't love the idea of mountain lions. And I'm not a I don't I don't have a bionic pelvis, but I also cannot run. I have two wonky knees. So I'd be like, well, go ahead, family. I, I guess I'm
I
tribute.
I was gonna say, I present myself in tribute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm from California originally. My daughter was born there, and our shop was up in the mountains. And so, her first 5 years, our hikes were spent discussing, what do you do if you see a bear? What do we do if we see a mountain lion? What do we do if we see a rattlesnake? These were all things that we encountered, on our hikes. It was part of the normal, just preparing to be part of the outdoors. So, paying attention for snakes isn't an extreme deviation from my background. Yeah, we just remove a lot of the apex predators.
apex predators.
Apex predators
Well,
out
that's
of
what we
the
choose bear over,
equation.
so that's different. I was born in California too, but I didn't get any of those lessons. So my mother was like, nope, stay inside. She was not the hiking type of gal. She was more of an LA kind of gal, like LA proper kind of gal, not a, well, we Inglewood specifically. So how
So
many
yeah,
FJRs do you have, did you say?
I have 8.
Eight
They
of them.
they find me like lost puppies. That I had one that I picked up last year, and it was just one of those. It was too good of a deal to pass up here in town where I live in South Dakota. And so I loaded my daughter in the trailer up and drive across town to pick up the bike. And we get out, and my daughter sees the bike sitting there, and she rolls her eyes and she goes, "Another one? Really, Mom?" Like,
That's such
My
a
kid's calling me out.
yeah, she definitely calls you out. Now, is that what you had the sidecar on?
No, actually, it was a Suzuki Bandit. We still have the Suzuki Bandit 1200 with the sidecar rig, and some. We've got a whole mishmash. I've got a Yamaha FC1 and some dirt bikes, and but yeah, the FJRs just keep finding me. I really like them. I can move my my rally long distance equipment between bikes, and you know.
And they're very like I was listening in the book, you say they're really customizable to how you like to have the stuff on your bike. And I think that's really neat. I just saw somebody with a FJR, was out riding around and ran into somebody with orange, I think it was like an orangey color. I am not, for anybody else's, even though this is a women in motorsports podcast, I am the absolute worst at naming vehicles. I am car blind, meaning, and I'm a little bit bike blind too, unless it's one of those very specific looking bikes like a GS or something that doesn't look like anything else. A car is a car, and it's a red one, green one, blue one, orange one for me. I can't tell the difference. So bikes are a little bit like that too. I have a hard time unless I actually see the logo, knowing what it is. It's my brain just doesn't catch. I cannot tell you anything about it. And my Rain Man of a husband can tell you when the first one was ever made, when the first one was off the line, and how many were made, and where they were developed, and blah blah blah, and all that. And I'm just like, I don't know any of that. But yeah, I saw the FJR for the first time, and it was because of you. I was like, oh, I know that bike. My friend Wendy, she has that bike. She rode that bike, and I told this complete stranger all about, your thing. And he was like, great, can I leave the gas pump now? And I'm like,
I win.
bye. So
That's
like
funny.
because of you, I know that bike. I know that bike now. So yeah,
Cool.
I don't know.
Well, before, I think we're right up against the time of our Zoom here. So
Yep.
pushingmiles.com is where people can get information on the book. It's print, ebook, and the audiobook is out now.
Yep. And you can get that from Amazon. That's where I bought mine, from Amazon.
Yep, Amazon, Barnes and
Audio.
Noble, Google Books, Apple Books, yeah, all the platforms. So yeah, pushingmiles.com. You can find information on where to buy and get our behind the scenes stuff. And
That'll be in the movie bar too.
we'll announce our upcoming events. So if we have book signings, if we have women's tours, anything like that, you'll find that on the website as well.
Yep, that's on there. So cool. We'll definitely put all this down where we can see you, where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing, where you can go get the book, and definitely go get the book. I'm going to get a physical copy of the book. It's going to go on my shelf back here. But as soon as I get finished listening to the audiobook, it'll go back there. And yes, I'm going to make my friend sign it because I'm nerdy like that. So
I will look forward to doing that.
Yep. So I hope you have a
Awesome.
good rest of your day, and we'll chat more later.
All right. Thanks a bunch.
I see the choices laid out for me. They're not easy and they're never free. I pay with my blood and I pay with my soul. Each time I fly, I'm paying the toll. Gritting gas, you can't tell me I can't. Gritting gas, take your advice and kiss my. They tell me I don't belong here. They say I can't ride like the rest of the grid. They say I can't do it, but babe, I just did.